Who are the must-draft starters that you need to round out your rotation this season? We have the answer to that and more on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ane, and you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Ane. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And guess what? If you do decide to do that, you might as well take a screenshot of your rating and review and join us over on the Subtext platform. Send us over that screenshot and you'll have a shot to join our coveted listener league for this upcoming season. We gave away 4 spots yesterday. We're giving away the final 4 spots on March 20th. Guys, this is a can't miss opportunity to play with, Matt and I, really learn some tricks of the trades. Matt and I are going to be chatting with all the guys in the league all season long. Be talking some trash, talk some smack. So come on, get in there before March 20th. Send us those screenshots on Subtext. We need you guys to do that for us. Come on, let's do it. And if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It subscribes to the channel and gives you notification every time we drop a new episode. And guys, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. And guys, we are back with the final target and avoid segment for starting pitchers. If you're watching on YouTube, you see Matt messing around with that beautiful Locked On Fantasy Baseball hat. That thing is super sexy. Shout out to Matt. Matt got me one too. That's my brother. Love that guy. But Matt, let's do it. Let's round out these starting pitchers, help these guys know who they should target, maybe SP4, SP5. What do we got, brother?
You forgot to mention the new news, man. You forgot.
Oh,
what are you doing?
Am I burying the lead over here, brother?
Yeah. Since we're, advertising the new hat. Winner.
Yeah, I totally did.
Yeah.
I totally did. Yeah.
Winner of the listener league, as long as Dom and I don't win it, get one of these hats. So I got 4 of them, one for me, one for Dom, one for the winner of the listener league, and maybe for someone down the road in the season.
Yeah,
we'll see.
We'll find a nice little reason to give it away during the year. So guys, look out for that. Matt, I am sorry. I totally buried the lead there. That is my fault, brother.
Yeah, it's a little limited edition type thing, only 4 made. Might want to take us on to try and go get it. So hop on in and do what
Matt,
you got to do.
real quick, I'm going to say one more thing. Guys, if you normally listen on the audio, and maybe jump over on the YouTube side and just check out the hat. That's all you need to do. Just go look at the hat real quick. It's beautiful. So it gives you every reason to want to join us on Subtext. Send us that screenshot of your rating and review. And we're giving one more away during the year. So who knows? All right, brother, let's do it. Let's talk some starting pitchers. I know everyone's chomping at the bit.
Yeah. All right. Bet. So what we're going to be going over is, the next 15 of this. So 31 to 50 pretty much, because there's some guys in here that either have fallen, like Kodai Senga has fallen about a spot or 2. Verlander just hit the IL, and
it's a tough time. Sonny Gray.
Yeah, Sonny Gray. So like, there's things going on and people moving up and down. So, and they still Kyle Bradish is being drafted for some reason within this range, and he's done for the season. So, we're gonna extend it just a tad.
Well,
But
did they officially announce if he's done for the year? I don't know if I saw confirmed on Bradish. We'll double check that. We'll circle back. They
didn't say he's getting TJ, but when they decide to get TJ in about 3 months, it's over. So like, that's how I'm treating it. So he's done for the year, in my opinion. So anyway, let's get in it. Tanner Bibee, Kodai Senga, Sonny Gray, Chris Bassett, Merrill Kelly. I'm going to add another one in there, and Hunter Green. We all know about Kodai Senga. He's starting the year off on the IL.
Spoke about him yesterday.
Yeah, so we're not really going to go into it, especially since we spoke about him yesterday. Bibee, I'm going to talk about later. Sonny Gray dealing with some hammies, I believe. They're talking about him missing and not being ready to get to start the season. I think he has maybe like a couple days worth of a window, and if he doesn't play within that time frame, he's going to miss at least his first start. And if he has to miss a second start, the team is going to put him on the IL. So that's a guaranteed, 2 days. And honestly, too, the longer he's out, the longer it's going to take for a ramp up. We might not see him till the end of April, beginning of May. So, not good news there for Sonny Gray. He has dropped significantly in my rankings and dumps. Chris Bassett, honestly, I like him. He's a good roster stabilizer. I don't like him for the pick of being like your, third pitcher. Like, that's not my favorite thing to do. But hey, it happens. It's a matter of team construction. And if you have him, then you probably have higher end players at different positions. So, it is what it is. Pick 116 isn't atrocious. There is guys below him I would draft over. But Chris Bassett is a nice stabilizer for what he did last year with all the innings, hitting 200, getting under 200 Ks. But, right there, good ERA, good whip. So, you can't really get mad at production. Merrill Kelly, I love Merrill Kelly. Only problem is Merrill Kelly's about to be 35. So, thing about Merrill Kelly is, how long can he keep this up? Because he's a guy that couldn't hack it in the MLB. Played in Korea, figured it out. Finally came out when he came back over, and then was doing his thing for the last 2 years essentially. Age 35, we'll see what happens. I don't know exactly how I feel or where I'm drafting him, but he's not my first choice. He's in like more of like my 45 to 50 range in terms of starting pitcher. Just not my favorite pick. And then Hunter Green. All the upside in the world. Dude throws gas hard as hell. The only problem with him is, control and the fact that he picks in Great American Hitter Park, Cincinnati. And, all those factors are not great. It's funny. I think his home run splits also are better at home than it is away. So it's a little bit more of an indictment on him as just, hey, what are you doing? So, like, as much as I like him, I don't like the price, but he's not really a bust because, it is what it is. That's your pitcher 3, pitcher 4 in some leagues, depending on where he's falling, pick 133. I really hope you're not waiting that long to get a pitcher, but, that would be ridiculous, but you would have a stellar hitting squad. So, it is what it is. He's worth the upside play, but it's very, very volatile.
Yeah, Matt, this group is a weird group of guys. Not really too many I like there. I'm excluding Bybee, who we said we're going to talk about later. But if Sonny Gray was my target out of that group, I was loving Sonny Gray because we really know who he is. We like Sonny Gray's been around a long time. We understand that. So with some of these other guys, it's not that maybe like a Bassett's been around a while, Kelly's been around a while, but there's not really upside there. And when I'm picking here, unless I went like, two stables, starting pitchers with my first and I'm searching for upside, I don't want any of these guys as my stabilizers. They're not really doing it for me. And especially as Matt said, like my SP3, I'm not loving Bassett there. We know who he is at this point in his career, mid to high threes ERA guy, hovers, right around that K per 9. The whip is usually pretty solid. You could take him, but I don't really see myself ever grabbing him as my SP4 because it's just not going to work out. Same thing goes for Kelly. Hunter Green is interesting, but I'm looking at him this spring training. I haven't really seen anything different. So I don't know. It doesn't look like he's figured it out yet to me. 4.2 innings pitched for Hunter Green in spring training, 4 walks. The strikeouts are there, 6 strikeouts, but 3 hits, 2 earned runs. I'm not seeing anything that's drawing me to him. We've seen Hunter Green. We know what he's about. The velocity is amazing. I think he threw the most 100 miles an hour fastballs by like a crazy margin last year, but I just haven't really seen it yet. But that's my take on these guys. We're gonna come back to Bybee later. That's an interesting one. But before we do that and we move into these next 5 names, we got some super interesting ones. We do have a quick ad for you guys. And guys, we're talking about Amazon Fire TV. Fire TV is your destination for sports. Live games, highlights, and in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs as well as the Fire TV stick that you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or the college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have a Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us at Locked On and most of the big-time pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels let you dive into all of the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on all of the latest in the world of sports, including March Madness, NBA, MLB, and lots more. Not to mention, there's also great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos as well. I mean, guys, what more can you ask for at that point? Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out the Fire TV channels, you totally should. You got to trust me on this one. Guys, to learn more, all you got to do is visit amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. And guys, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. And guys, once again, we're introducing the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast Diamond Club on Subtext, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. Dive into the offseason with Matt and I as we provide our tiered rankings with over 100 outfielders and starting pitchers. You'll also have exclusive access to our prospect insights, sleepers, breakouts, busts, and personalized draft grades. And guys, draft season's right around the corner. I know you're going to want to come out and say, hey, what do you guys think about my team? We'll each give you a personalized grade and a couple of little sentences on that. And guys, when you have those burning questions, we've certainly got the answers. As the season unfolds, rely on us for dynamic content. Get real-time alerts right to your phone, including waiver wire rankings, instant call-up notifications, injury reactions, and a whole lot more. Stay ahead of your fantasy league by joining the Diamond Club on Subtext, where your path to victories begin. Subscribe now and elevate your fantasy baseball to a new level. All right, Matt, that's a lot of talking from me. Why don't you chime in with these next 5 here and give your thoughts on them, brother?
All right, we need to start moving too because we're killing time here. All right,
Yeah,
so
same.
we got Justin Verlander hit the IL, Chris Sale, Walker Buehler, Jordan Montgomery, Mitch Keller, Shane Bieber. That's the next group here. Honestly, look, Verlander hitting the IL is not a good thing. It smells a lot like Nestor Cortez, a lot like Verlander himself. It smells a lot like Rodon.
And it's a shoulder thing too, so
Ex-
it's not
well,
good.
it's just and these were all shoulder issues, and
Yeah.
along with Verlander having the master tendon shoulder thing.
Major Terrace.
Yeah, there you go. That one. Yeah, I made it up. It's the But anyway, he was out for quite a bit for it. So I mean, maybe he bounces back, but I mean, age 41, like things are different. Your body works different. So anyway, Chris Sale, I like the new landing spot. There is some upside there, win capability. It's just a matter of health. Can he keep it up and can he play, all those innings, at least make it to 150? I'm not sure. I tend to not draft him, but if you do, it's not the worst pick, especially in this group. So it is what it is. I mean, Chris Sale. Dom will probably have a different feeling on him. He's probably one of his targets, truthfully. Not for me. But
Maybe.
anyway, yeah. And then my next guy here is Walker Buehler. Walker Buehler, right now, there is no set date for him. So that scares me. We talked about him on the injury update episode. I'm not really liking the fact that they don't have a solid date to get him warmed up, to get him going, even though I also did see that he might see him in spring training. I doubt it.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I did see that.
Yeah, but I doubt it all at the same time. I think it's more to that truth that they're not sure. It's tentative. I guess they're trying to gauge it because they want to get him ramped up. So he is back the first week of May. They actually haven't slotted into return on May 1st. But who knows? I think honestly we're not seeing him until June. So, and if not longer, Walker Buehler just struggled right now with trying to make his comeback here. Jordan Montgomery we're going to talk about later. So it is what it is. Dom, it's time for you to talk.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, let me get back in here. So, Matt, good take on Verlander. I'm avoiding him at the moment as well with the injury. Just not for me. 41 years old, kind of speaks for itself. Chris Sale, though, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's just me, but I got a real weak spot for Chris Sale. And I mean, Atlanta is a very good landing spot. They've been very well. Look at Charlie Morton at the end of his career. He's been, very well for, fantasy baseball. But I want to talk about, Chris Sale's missed a lot of time over, the last few years, really never had the chance to get back to himself. But the last 15 starts I want to read off for, Chris Sale last year. So across those last 15 starts for Chris Sale, 9-6, that speaks more of the team than his results. He pitched 79 innings. He had 95 strikeouts. He had an 0.9 whip. He had a 3.16 ERA, and batters hit 197 against him throughout that time. So pretty much you were getting a vintage Chris Sale. Of course, we all know the injury risk with him, but honestly, there's so many guys with injury risk that honestly, I think I want a guy that when I know he's out there, he's going to perform very well. And Chris Sale coming off the board as the 38th starting pitcher, pick 135. I absolutely love it. Walker Buehler is an interesting one. I need to see him get on the mound. He has to get on a mound before I can, take him as my SP4. I do know there's upside there. Somebody that Matt and I are very high on when he's out there, but that's the thing. Right now we don't know when he's going to be out there. So big question marks around Walker Buehler. If you're drafting him, you better, be stable throughout the rest of your rotation. Montgomery doesn't have a landing spot. There's not much to say about him at the moment until he lands. Once he lands, we'll give our takes
save him
on
for
him
later. Yeah.
We'll talk about him more later. Mitch Keller. How far down do we go? Do we go to Mitch Keller, Matt?
No, this is you for your next 5.
Okay, yeah. So let's pump these next 5 out. We're gonna do Mitch Keller, 41st starting pitcher, pick 145. Shane Bieber, 42nd starting pitcher, pick 146. Kyle Bradish, 43rd starting pitcher, pick 147. Michael King, 44th starting pitcher, pick 148. And then Carlos Rodon, who we're gonna say for later, is the 45th starting pitcher, pick 155. Gonna cut through these guys real fast. I like what I saw from Mitch Keller at the beginning of last season. He tired down towards the end. I personally have him ranked a little bit lower than this, so I wouldn't draft him there, but he's not a total avoid for me because Mitch Keller has figured stuff out. We were seeing him do things differently and getting better results. That's what you want to see. You don't want to see just somebody randomly has like a 3-start stretch where they're better, but velocity is the same. They're not throwing any different pitches. That's just kind of probably like an outlier, but Mitch Keller's made actual changes, and I do like that. Shane Bieber's an interesting one. No joke, he was a top 25 starting pitcher last year, and I know he's been a little bit banged up, and I know the results haven't been as desired, but I really think he's going to become more of one of those stabilizer type guys. I don't think he's ever going to get back to, the Cy Young caliber pitcher that we've seen before. But if we can get, a mid-3s ERA from Bieber with, around a K per 9, probably a little bit under, with like a 115 whip, 117 whip, that's going to be very good. So honestly, he's a guy that I do like, but I'm weary when I'm drafting him. He's another guy. If I'm drafting him, I kind of want to have some other, like stable, starting pitchers. But I can see Shane Bieber's career taking that route. He's only going to be 29 this year, so I do still have some love for Bieber. Kyle Bradish is hurt. Matt mentioned it. Not drafting him, guys. You can easily avoid him. Michael King, though. Michael King is a very, very sexy name to me. I love Michael King. Finished the year super strong for the Yanks last year, has really great stuff. I'm mad that we didn't keep him. I do love Juan Soto, but Michael King's an absolute stud. I think he's a sneaky pick this year. I really think he takes a step forward. Even look at these numbers from last year for King. If you don't remember, Michael King, 2.75 ERA, 104 innings, 127 strikeouts, a 114 whip. He has the stuff. Somebody that I do really like. But guys, before we, kind of round out these last few names here and then jump into targets and avoids, we do have one more quick ad for you.
Here we go. So, Prize Picks, the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It is just you against the numbers instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks. You pick more or less than on 2 to 6 players that stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Exploring my skills on prize picks this season adds an extra layer of excitement to daily sports. With just a few taps, you can transform $10 into $1,000 with ease. Prize Picks is incredibly user-friendly. You can make selections and submit your entry in less than 60 seconds. As the host of Locked On Fantasy Baseball, here are some rock-solid picks. Opt for higher than 5 strikes for Logan Webb in a single game. Choose higher than 0.5 steals for Ellie De La Cruz. Consider a season-long pick of higher than 50 stolen bases for Bobby Witt Jr. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for your first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. All right, we are back in it. We got to rush this down because we spend so much time on this group, but there's a lot to be said. There's a lot of question marks surrounding a lot of these players. So honestly, we had what two names, and it's funny enough. I think Dom has those guys slotted in so as guys he actually wanted to highlight. So it kind of works out in our favor here. But yeah, Dom, why don't you choose? Do you want to love on somebody? You want to hate on somebody?
Yeah, you don't want to round out these last couple names. You want to go into target and avoid?
Bro, there's like legit 2 names left. It's the 2 names we're gonna talk
Well, Berrios, Javier, Hunter
about.
Brown, and Darvish.
Now we're good. We don't need to cover them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
We got,
yeah,
we
those
have
names. I'll say this, I'll throw this out there, guys. If you have questions about any of the starting pitchers that we're not mentioning, join us on subtext. Matt and I do this. The starting pitchers are expertise. Go back, look at last year. Some of our takes, we were spot on. But you know what? His name's right here. I want to go with some love. I'm in the loving mood. I usually am in the loving mood. Not much of a hater. Bailey Ober is my guy. I absolutely love Bailey Ober. I've been, literally talking about him all last year, all off season this year. Honestly, the guy has top, 15 starting pitcher upside, in my opinion. He was not super highly touted coming out, but he was like, somewhat of a prospect and just has kind of just been, getting better every single year. Going to be 28 this year. Bailey Ober last year as a 27-year-old, 3.43 ERA, 144 innings, 146 strikeouts, a 106 whip. I wouldn't let the 3.96 FIP, drive you away too much. Think that's kind of an outlier because his FIP was really good in 2022. So we'll see where things go. But Bailey Ober is somebody I'm absolutely targeting. I love the current ADP at pick 156. He's kind of been coming up draft boards a little bit. I remember I was getting him as like my SP5, SP6. Now he's more in the SP4, SP5 range. But love Bailey Ober. Take him everywhere you can.
Nah, Bailey Ober's great. I've been targeting him everywhere. My guy just is a solid pick. And honestly, I think it's just returning to the mean between the year last year and this year. Excuse me. That ERA, excuse me. That ERA is pretty much real, so it is what it is. All right. After I'm done choking my water, I'm going to talk about Tanner.
You good?
Yeah. Oh man. All right. I'm talking about Tanner Bybee here. Tanner Bybee is my favorite target. The dude is a young little stud, man. Came into the bigs last year and kind of just smoked everybody. 142 innings too he pitched, and actually more than that, 157. I apologize about coughing in everybody's ears. And kind of really did his things. 141 strikeouts, which is fantastic. A 2.98 ERA. He had a 1.17 WHIP. Like FIP was a 3.52, was a smidge higher, about half a run. But honestly, he just does things. Like he has a good track record in the minors. Obviously he's not going to do what he did in the minors. He had a 2.17 one year and a 1.76, the year before. Like the dude is just a stud. I don't think there's any way he doesn't, take this step forward. He's hitting all my check marks for what I want to see out of a year 2 pitcher, especially since he pretty much had almost a full season in the bigs. He had more time than Yuri Perez. He had more time than Grayson Rodriguez. Honestly, he is the best proof, the most proven case for the year two pitchers for the going into this year. So Tanner Bybee is somebody I actually have a lot of confidence in terms of drafting him. So him coming up as my 3/4 at this draft price, I think is kind of like a steal. Like, do not avoid Tanner Bybee. Draft him everywhere. He might end up on our My Guys episode, in all honesty.
Yeah, man, super, super strong take on Bybee. My point that I was going to try and make is very similar to the point that you're making with when it comes to Grayson Rodriguez, Bobby Miller, Yuri Perez. Like I feel like they're the big 3 year 2 pitchers. They were like, if you're talking about even like a month ago, they were going so much further ahead of Bybee. But I feel like the industry's in on Bybee, and the more we rave about him, the more everyone's getting in on him because he's actually jumped up a lot closer to Yuri, Bobby, and Grayson. But yeah, you nailed everything there. I love Bybee. I'm taking him everywhere. So we could just jump right into avoids, and I'll start with mine. And not to be like a homer hater, but I'm going Carlos Rodon here. It's an interesting case. Matt and I always like to say, hey, listen, there's more to, analyzing baseball players than just looking at statistics and numbers. Like what's going on in their personal lives. Like, have they just went to a new team? We always bring that up. There's a lot that goes on in anyone's life that can affect your performance at work. And don't forget, at the end of the day, this is these guys' job, and life is hard. Carlos Rodon, I hate to throw this out there, but his family's been going through a lot. You can Google it. I'm not going to get into the details, but you can Google all that stuff. He's been going through a lot of personal issues off the field, and bundle that up with some injuries. I just don't. I don't think it's gonna, really work out for Rodon this year. As much as I wanted to, for not only him as a human being, but as a Yankee fan as well. I want to see him do well. It just doesn't seem to be in the cards for Rodon this year. And then even on the performance side, guy gives up a lot of hard hit balls, gives up a lot of fly balls. Pitching in Yankee Stadium is going to be a tough adjustment. He was pitching in San Fran, which is a great park to pitch in. I think it's still going to be a tough adjustment for the guy. I'm sorry, but I'm just out on Carlos Rodon this year, man.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, he's one of those names that, like, I'll avoid at all costs until the price is right, because then
Yeah,
it's worth it. There is an upside to Carlos Rodon too. This could be one of those like seasons where he just goes completely off and they make a movie about it because he's doing it for his wife. Like, there's a lot of things
yeah.
going on. He's just not looking good in spring, so which is another indicator that he's just the outside world is closing in on him and affecting his performance out on the field.
Yeah, I forgot to throw out there. I watched him pitch today. Didn't look good. Didn't look good.
Yeah. So, I feel for the man entirely, because I mean, I can't imagine having my wife go through what he's going
Yeah.
through and then being that support person while trying to do something in the major leagues. I don't even know if I'd be playing baseball, so more power to him. But anyway, let's get off Carlos Rodon. Let's talk about this last guy here. It's Jordan Montgomery. Jordan Montgomery. Honestly, if he would have signed already, it's the same situation with Blake Snell. He would be much higher for me in my rankings. He'd be much higher for me in anything, but Jordan Montgomery still has no team. So landing spots are Philly. They are the Giants. They are pretty much any team in the MLB at this point. He just needs to get paid. Um, but the problem is he's not going to make the opening day roster. He's not going to be ready for that first week, possibly not the second week. And if we go another week, he might miss most of April. So, there is that warm up time. And if they do rush him in, then you're going to be dealing with a lot of stuff. For a guy that's also not a spring chicken, I might add, Jordan Montgomery is 31 years old. Like, he's not like some young dude where like he's going to bounce back. So like, bounce back quick and be healthy. So ultimately, I just would love to see him just get signed today. Maybe he doesn't play that first weekend and we could catch him at the end of, week one of fantasy and be okay with it. But we'll see. Personally, I'd love to see him return to the Rangers, because then his rankings going way up again. But we'll see. It is what it is. Right now, I can't touch him with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, Matt, you took the sentiment out of my mouth. The only way I'm drafting Monty is if he goes back to Texas, or honestly, if he comes back to the Yankees. I'd still like him a little bit because it's familiarity, right? He's been there before. Kind of doesn't really, not going to have to adjust too much to things. But otherwise, I'm not really commenting or drafting on Montgomery until he has a landing spot, because it's not going to do anybody any good. But real quick, Matt, let's just kind of give some thoughts on starting pitching as a whole. We got like a minute or so here. That's what we'll do. With starting pitching, the strategy has adjusted. Matt and I have been talking about it lately. If you haven't heard, kind of going a little bit earlier with our top starting pitchers, probably third, fourth round is where you're going to really want to look to take one of your first starting pitchers. And then just follow up. The big thing is just know your rotation, man. Know your league. Are you playing in a points league? Are you playing in a head-to-head categories league? You playing in a roto league? All is going to make a difference on the way that you're drafting starting pitching. I always like to mix some, upside guys with some stabilizers. I usually like to make sure one of my first two guys, I'll usually go one-on-one. I'll take one upside guy, and then I'll take a stabilizer with my first two. I love Logan Webb as a stabilizer this year. Some upside guys at the top are guys like, Yamamoto and Glass now and dudes like that. I like to pair with Logan Webbs and Max Frieds. But Matt, jump in here. What's your thoughts on starting pitcher?
It's essentially, with all these injuries going, it's becoming more and more, prevalent to pick pitchers that are rising up the draft board in terms of that. Like, I'm not trying to leave the third round without a starting pitcher. I don't think wherever I'm picking at that point, unless I'm picking at the top of the fourth round. It's just not for me. I just will have to just be aware, be cautious. You want to sneak out at least one ace, and then honestly, I wouldn't leave the six without my two. And then You know, you see what these look like. CBS loves to call it the glob. There's a lot of globby pitchers this year because of all the injuries. So, you know, I don't want to touch a lot of these pitchers and walk away with them as my 2s and 3s. So prioritize them earlier, but not too early either. You know, you got to realize too, outfield is just as rough this year. So just be aware. With that,
guys, that's all for us today, guys. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. But guys, until next time, see ya.
peace.